morning we are gathering up the last group of my dad's cows. He didn't have a ton of them. He was a farmer, but he always had cattle too. And he had this one group of really, really pretty, perfect uniform set of red Angus heifers, which he sold before he died to my cousin, so they got a good home. But this morning we're gathering up the last group and the last time. He would be so excited this morning with the hay, the moisture, everything looks so good. The calves look awesome, even though we've talked before about having everything in a perfect way like in a ranching world, but farmers do things a little differently, which is how I grew up. And still Dad's motley group of cows ranging in age from 4 to probably 13, he still comes out every year with a really, really, really nice set of calves. And so that's what we're doing this morning. The calves are going to be separated off and shipped, and the cows will stay for just a little bit longer. But anyway, end of an era. I cannot remember not being fascinated and in love with horses. I cannot remember not having that. When I was a little kid, and getting toys. All my toys were horses, and I had a few dolls. All the dolls came with a horse. That was the only reason Mom got to buy me a doll for Christmas, was if the doll had a horse for a companion. So my love for horses is still in me. I still get this amazing goosebump feeling just watching a 2-year-old colt at the racetrack, or like watching sale colts, or videos of the barrel horses, or the feel that I feel when a horse can make me feel like I might come off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, talent. And I thoroughly go to the barn looking forward to just brushing them. And when I'm depressed, all I can think about was, can I go to the barn? So my career as a quote-unquote barrel horse trainer happened because in the world I lived in, there was no English writing. We're farmers. My dad was a farmer. He was a self-taught team roper. What was available to me were race horses, and the thing that you could go to was a little play day when I was a little bitty kid. The play days led to junior rodeos, which led to amateur rodeos, which led to pro rodeos, because I was very blessed as a young person to have a horse that was super talented. We trained our own, and so the thing with the horses is just like, it's always been in my life. And I have a statue that my mom gave me once, and it's a girl hugging her horse, because really, I'm not saying that I lived in the country by myself. I had my sister Terry, and we played together, but our friends were our ponies or our horses. So they are just the thing in my life. And I being an analyst of things, and I always wonder why is this like this? And I have come to read and find out that my love for the horses, it could be in part because little girls are attracted to horses like little boys are attracted to trucks and trains and airplanes. I think it's not unnatural for little girls to love horses. I'm one of those people that was blessed to have them in my backyard. I love it when the girls are here and I can put them to work again, which makes my job go fast, because I can get them to help me exercise my horses and clean the barn and clean the horses. And it's fun to remember when they were little and I had them here for helpers, and all of my friends wanted to steal my kids, because when I went to the futurities, they could bed the stalls, hang the buckets. I didn't let them get the horse out of the trailer because I think that's dangerous. But anyway, took care of the horses and everything. So like really, I love having them. The fun thing is now they actually don't hate it. They didn't hate it, but now it's more fun to come home and ride, and they want to see what new horses I have so they can exercise, and I still get their opinions. I'll get them to look at them and be like, what do you think? Or I'll stick them on there and say, how does that one feel? Because when they were little, I used them for guinea pigs a little bit, and I could figure out how far along the horses were before they got to go home to their owners or before they got sold. So anyway, so fun to have them, which nowadays I only get them on holidays.
We're at Anzia Textiles, which is where Hannah and I work, obviously. And so we sell contract upholstery fabric to the commercial market so it's going to go in hospitals, hotels, restaurants, casinos. And we're in Fort Worth, Texas, over here in the design district. Oh, wait, no. What is it?
The
Foundry district. Yes, because that's new. I was homeschooled for a couple of years in 4th and 5th grade, and then we would go because Mom had at that time at least, I think she had 8 to 10 horses throughout the year that she would take, and sometimes I remember one year we went to San Antonio to the futurity that they have during the rodeo, and Dad had to come. Well, he was going to be in the rodeo anyway, but he had to come with a full stock trailer. Not only did we have the 5-horse trailer of her futurity horses, and then had a couple derby horses, and so we would pull up, unload with our dogs, and we had parrots too. So parrots.
Some point.
Sometimes we had lizards. I think we had rabbits.
I had a gecko.
And we would get there, unload. We would, of course, have a day to set up, right, because that's the way the futurities went.
So I remember pulling up and hoping, be like, all right, hey, Mom, the whole water hose is over there. I would look to see where other people were getting their water from. I would be like, I hope she parks close to the water hose because that's how far I'm going to have to carry big.
You carried the 2.5 gallon.
The big ones.
Oh, she was the big ones.
Okay, well, when I could. So we would pull up. Mom would unload the horses. She would either tie them to the trailer or maybe tie them in their stalls.
Yep.
And then she would pull up. We would get out, unload. Mom would say, okay, I'm going to go pay my entry fees.
And I just remember people coming by, like the major futurity people, I mean, Talmadge Green and everybody, man, Dena, I want your kids. Can I just have your kids?
Yep.
And then they'd say, no wonder you can do all this because you have your girls that you get to take with you. And it was fun. It was
fun.
We grew up competing and riding barrel horses, and of course, people, especially when Mom got, after she had Willie Nick Bar and she had some really big name horses, people would come ask us, man, you're so lucky. Do you get to ride Willie Nick Bar? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, he's so hard to warm up
Sarah
and everything.
Sarah got to ride him, and Sarah would just roll her eyes.
But
be like,
but I got to say though, looking back on it, the awesome thing about both of our parents, because we grew up on the ranch and Mom trained horses, and that was pretty much what she had done her whole life and wanted to do. I think it's pretty amazing with as successful as Mom is, an amazing trainer and speaker and clinician, that she didn't press us to do it. We have so many experiences to draw on, not only work ethic, and growing up, being so blessed to grow up on a ranch, that we can take those with us wherever we go. And it definitely sets I think it does. People can say what they want, but I think it gives us definitely an edge on people who live and work in the city nowadays because they didn't have these experiences.
Someday in the future, when we're done with all of living in the city and looking like we didn't grow up where we grew up, which we're very proud of, by the way, I think that we could definitely take her up on the riding those good horses she's got out there.
Yeah.
On the back.
always draw this on the ground because I don't have a projector out here in the field for sure, but anyway, even at clinics. But the mental picture that you have in your mind before you go try to do this in the arena is important. So I draw this big circle, that's my boundary circle. And when I get on my horse, I'll trot one. And it serves no purpose except for to give my mind the boundary of my area that I'm gonna use in the arena. So I have this big imaginary circle, and I'll trot the horse around it, and then when I decide to start my pattern, I will just cut across the center, and I will have decided which direction I'm gonna go, and I will go through the center. This rock represents the center of your circle, and that's a very important point. Ian Francis will not allow you to not get close to your center rock, but anyway, or cone or whatever. But go across the center and get to the far side of your boundary circle, sit down, shape up, make 2 perfect circles, cut across the center again, very close to your center, sit down, make 2 perfect circles, cut across your center, sit down, make 2 perfect circles, cut across your center. And so as you're riding your horse, you're thinking about using your whole arena and making your perfect little pinwheel pattern. So in my mind, this is what I want their feet to do when I'm out there. So if their feet could make a path like in the snow, I want it to look just like this one. Now, when you're riding the horse, and depending on how they act, for sure, it's not a perfect world, so it may not look identical to that. But this is the idea I have in my mind. And you're using all parts of your big circle, and you're not just going back and forth and back and forth. And another key point to this exercise, which is a little bit difficult, it seems like, for people to get in their brain, if you're gonna turn to the left, you keep your center cone on the right. Or if you're gonna turn left, you say it like this: I'm gonna go to the left of the cone, which means I'm gonna be turning left when I get across the arena. Because the center of your circle, the marker for your center, is to help you keep your horse's body straight as you go on your straight line. If you're gonna turn to the left, and if you go to the right of the cone, you would have a tendency to loop things. So the cone is there. You wanna keep it. If you're gonna turn left, go to the left of the cone, or if you're gonna think of it like this, turn left, you're gonna keep the cone on your right. It doesn't matter which way you start. I'm gonna start going to the left with her. She's a left-handed mare in the barrel pattern, so that may or may not be a good reason, but I am gonna start her to the left first. I'm gonna make a giant big circle, imaginary circle boundary for my own mind and for hers, to know where our boundary is going to be for the outside edges of our pattern. So the only reason that I do trot this big circle is just for a kind of a mental visual for myself and my horse to know where my boundaries are going to be. Then I'm going to cut across the center when I'm ready. So since I'm going to turn it to the left, I'm going to go to the left of my cone in a straight line, sit down, shape up a little, trot 2 perfect circles. And I like to trot this first, get them to trot it first. She wants to lope it. She loves the drill. Straighten her. And on your straight lines, it is immensely important to go straight, 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 straight. Stop. You have to go straight because I see a lot of people go across the center with their horse's head cocked, cocked, cocked. And that does not benefit you. When you're going on your straight lines, your hands should be evenly distanced from the horse's mouth, shoulder width apart. So when you're going to go on the straight line, you keep your horse's ears and eyes pointing straight and their body in line, so that when you sit down, go to one hand and shape up, the horse shapes up and then does the turn. You don't want to be trying to half turn them all the way across the straight line. So that's a huge important thing. And while I'm stopped, I'm going to walk this. Another very important part of this exercise is when you're ready to finish your turn and go on your straight line, like I'm going to walk her in 2 circles as if I were trotting or loping. When it comes time to go straight, I'm gonna reach my hand here, slide to shoulder width, and literally give the outside rein just a slight tug that points her face in a straight line. And I try to tell people it's like driving those zero-turn lawnmowers, because you don't want to come out of your circle and then try to push your horse into a straight line. That won't work. So you have to pull a little bit with the other rein to straighten her face. So it's like if you're driving that lawnmower and you want to straighten it, you're going to do like this. So that's very important, because when you finish this circle and you reach here and you straighten her face to go across, that's what locks that inside hind leg down. So watch for that. You can feel it when you're riding your horse. If you don't do this part right, the horse will kind of float out of the turn, which is definitely not going to help your horse with your barrel pattern. So I'll go ahead and trot her here and start back over. I just want to reiterate a couple of the points of this exercise that are very important to make it do for you what I hope it can do for you, and these may be the most difficult parts of it. One of them is not difficult, but for some reason it seems to be a little bit, people don't actually realize it, is when you're going on the straight line, you go on the straight line, which means her face is pointing straight, her ears are pointing straight, and my hands are equal distant from her mouth in my rein. If you're riding split reins, you're going to want to really make sure you do your hands really good, because they can feel everything and it'll mess them up if you don't. As you sit down to go to turn, with a horse more mature and they know how to balance themselves out, I expect when I sit down and go to the saddle horn, I like to feel the horse get prepared to turn, which is the same thing as getting to the barrel, sit down, go to the saddle horn, the horse should prepare to turn right there. That's what I want to feel in this exercise. If I don't feel that, I'll make an extra circle, and every now and then I might actually stop them if they don't feel that way, back them up a little bit, make sure they're listening to my hands, and then go back and work on that. The finish of your turn is hugely important. So when you're going to finish that turn, and I'm going to tell you this again, as you walk, you finish your circle, whether you're walking, trotting, or loping. When you decide to go straight, slide to shoulder width and tug. I over-exaggerated it, but you tug this rein so that you've got your horse's face pointing in a straight line. You should feel them engage the opposite hind leg and power out of the turn. If you're not feeling that, look for it. Make sure you're doing your hand technique right, and make sure that you are sitting deep in your saddle and using your feet to make your horse's feet move. 15.504. Barrel racing can be so easy 1 minute, and within 24 hours seemed like the hardest thing we've ever done in our lives with the same horse and maybe even the same event. And I've thought often, and she and I laugh often about what draws us to something where, number one, we feel like we are never gonna have to quit proving ourselves. And I have another friend that one time said, you're only as good as the last run you made. And I live by that. I live by that rule, by the way. I don't want to not have confidence. You need confidence, but I'm a realist as well. And I really hate disappointment. I was not a good person at sports necessarily in school. I played them, but I'm short. But my kids, on the other hand, both were really good at sports in school. And so what I began to notice as the girls were playing ball, that if they had a great game and scored a lot of points, and if we were like, oh, that's a great game and all that kind of stuff, well, then the next game would be horrible because she let down. And I know that many athletes have to deal with your competition according to what your mind needs for you to do to keep you on your edge, which is different for people. And we live in a world where it's not just our edge that matters, but the horse that we're riding. We have to prepare him for his athletic event. And so I might be answering my own question here about why it can be so easy one minute and so hard the next, because there's a lot going on with barrel racing in the fact that it's two minds, two hearts, and I know there's lots of cliches about that, but you've got four legs under you, a thinking brain underneath you. In my case, the athlete that I am riding is often way more athletic than my athletic ability these days. So there's all these things that make it the ground conditions. I began to notice with my mare Kate that if the ground is soft, it feels easy. If that ground's a tiny bit firm, oh my gosh, keeping my butt in the saddle becomes more difficult. And so, but there's a ton of little things like that that change it, and it makes it frustrating and challenging, and we love that, all of us. The horse training part was a thing that was never not a part of my life, because we didn't buy them. We trained them ourselves, whether they were team roping horses or barrel horses or pole horses. That was just, I didn't even know. When I went to my first Futurity Derby event, I was very fortunate, beginner's luck, and I won it. And someone asked me, did I train my own horse? And I was thinking, how'd you get yours? I did not really know. And this is after college. I was a married young adult. I was bizarrely unaware of the fact that people paid other people or bought a horse trained. I just didn't ever think about it. So the horse training thing also came naturally. Barrel racing came to me because that was what was available. And in my world, if you wanted to ride and be competitive, I am competitive by nature. So a horse and competition, and where I grew up, barrel racing was the thing. So that's how that got. And I will say too, and I say this lots because our horses guide our horses make your life what it is with your horse. I mean, you can wake up one day and say, okay, I want a jumping horse. Well, if you don't have that in your barn, that might be a little tricky. So the horse that I got when I was 10 years old was a super barrel racing horse. He was a natural. So he basically created my love for barrel racing because he was so good at it. So, he happened to be there. That was a gift from God. So the barrel racing came because of the availability of rodeo and barrel racing, and because the horse that was my horse when I was 10 years old was an awesome barrel racing horse. So that's how it came to be barrel racing, and has always been. And while I'm fascinated by all other horse sport, I am a lover of the barrel racing, the whole thing, the speed, the fear of failure, the everything about barrel racing. It's one of the things where in my life I feel like I am never gonna get there. I am never gonna. So it's a constant challenge, which apparently I must love the challenge, because I just keep doing it, and I'm get depressed. You have bad years, or you don't win anything, or your horse gets sick, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Every time I'm in the alley and after I've done, if I don't do good, I'm like, why do I do this? But then I'm like, I wake up the next morning, I need another chance. I can do it better next time. So it's a continual challenge, which is part of the beauty of it. And the other beauty of it is the fact that the relationship I can have with the horses I'm riding, they help me with my life. They help me deal with life situations, and the horses mirror our life and our minds and our relationships. I feel like this because, so to me, there's a bigger picture with the horses, more than just can I go out, train the horse, and go to a futurity or a rodeo. There's a much deeper meaning to the horses in my life, and as a clinician, I find this to be true all over the place. Too bad that I didn't ask Dad more questions before he left us, because he could tell us every single nitpicking detail about these buildings. My granddad moved here. I'm pretty sure Dad was in elementary school, and they built dairies. This was not the first dairy that they built. They built a way smaller dairy over at another place that they lived, that actually I ended up living there when I was in high school. But when I was little, this is where Dad worked and spent all of his time. And he would, the house we lived in was about, probably as a crow flies, maybe a mile away, and it took probably 2 minutes to get here. And on the other side of this building was Ince's pit, and there was corn. They grew corn crops everywhere, and they would drop us off as little girls, me and my sister Terry. That tree and that metal building that you can see from here was our tack room. And so Mom was under the impression that we were overwatched, but we weren't. No way, looking at it from this perspective too and thinking back about it, no way could Dad really see everything we were doing from here. And I'm not saying he couldn't look out there and see if horses were running off. He dropped us off there, and we rode our ponies and caught the horses and walked around the barrel pattern for hours and hours and hours and hours. We would turn around when we got tired and park our horses at the end of the arena and turn around and lay our heads on their butts and take a nap. Isn't that crazy? You could get a drink anytime because there's a pump up there, which we can see that in a minute. But while we're at this barn, I was little, but I remember it being in working order, and the cows, those windows there, that's where they were milked. But one of my memories was Dad when he needed help, he used me and Terry, and I remember pushing the Holstein herd up into, because they go up that alley there and turn and go up, and right there where you see that it goes into that barn. And I remember pushing them up that ramp, and them all at one time just turning on me. And I remember looking up thinking, how am I going to get them turned back around? But I did. Somehow I got them turned back around. I don't know how I didn't get run over. And so, and just to driving them in just to get milked. But I have sort of vivid memories here and there of that. Not of everything, but stuff like that.
Dena's first horse. I found this little yellow horse with my horseshoe out there. Somebody had bought him in Midland through the sale ring. He had cuckleburs in his tail, cuckleburs in his mane. Never had a halter on him.
And how old do you think? How was he?
We think he might have been 5 years old.
And no paper. No paper.
No
hadn't
paper.
been touched.
Never knew where he came from. Never knew how he was bred. And brought him out there, tied him to the fence. Took me 3 days to get a saddle on him. And 3 weeks after that, Dena was riding him.
The one thing in life that is unavoidable, like this is gonna happen, is things changing. When I was a little kid, I hated change. If it meant going somewhere different for Christmas than my grandmother's, I just remember thinking, oh, I can't stand the change. As you grow and mature, you learn that you better live with change, and you better learn how to deal with it in a positive manner. Otherwise, things go bad for you. And that's no different for, like, if you're the mother of kids raising, training horses, that's my life. And I came to a place in my life where I started to feel I had been very blessed with awesome horses, and I was very thankful. And then I came to a place where I don't even know how to describe it, but it was basically bottom line burnout. Like I just was, you start to become, I think probably what happens, and it happens to a lot of people after 40, sometime between 40 and 50, it's kind of statistical. But anyway, I know people that changed whole careers in their 40s. But I remember becoming miserable. I was miserable about the way people seemed to never to be satisfied, no matter how great their horses turned out. And since I was a trainer for the public, that began to dishearten me, and I just got a little bit disillusioned with the whole deal of barrel racing and futurity horse training. And I started kind of feeling like throwing my sucker down and being kind of a poor, pitiful pearl, which is never a good idea, never. There's always someone worse off. And really looking back on it, I can't even believe I acted like that. But in any case, I am a believer in God, and I am pretty sure that He will reach down and thump you on the head every now and then for getting offline. And I got one of those in the getting kicked by a mare who could have killed me. Broke my femur. And I mean, I remember laying on the ground thinking, please, Lord, don't let me die. When I realized I wasn't gonna die and my leg was broken, all I could think about was, when can I go to the next futurity? Oh my gosh. And I mean, on that moment, you talk about a wake-up call, because the idea that you might not be able to do it again, then all of a sudden that makes you put things in perspective. Instead of being whiny about what's going wrong, I mean, all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, if I never get to ride a horse again, I'm not gonna make it. And so anyway, it did put things in perspective, and I kind of laugh about it in retrospect, and all things happen for a reason. I do believe that, but that was, it wasn't a slow coming back to reality. That was a quick coming back to reality. And then after the fact, I recovered quickly. I was very fortunate. My leg was broken, but it healed quickly. And really, it gave me time to go to ball games. We were going to a lot of ball games. I didn't have to stop riding just for like 4 months. And what I did was go from every trained horse went home or got sold, and I replenished my barn with coming 2-year-olds. So on that note, the thing that you learn is that, number one, you shouldn't be whiny. Number two, when things do change, you need to make it a positive thing. Now, it's not always easy. Change is hard. And some changes, which the change in my life that happened recently has been the loss of my parents, which has been very difficult. But that, like back in 2004, has to be something that becomes, that you look for the good in. And there is always that. Now, sometimes the good isn't right that minute, something that you can see. But I look back at 2004 and I thought, oh my gosh, I've broken my leg, and oh my gosh, what if my career's completely over, and now I want to be a futurity horse trainer, and I want to love it, and I want to be thankful to God that I can do this. And how bad could that have been? But when I look back on that, it did give me a fresh start in barrel racing, and it opened a door into a whole new world for my career. And it was good. And it was good. It was hard, but it was good. I spent time with my kiddos, and I still trained horses. I had these awesome ones, and my kids were playing their sports, and I got to go with them, which those were experiences in the sport world, which those of you those of you that are parents of children that are playing sports, especially if you do it in the summer with the AAU clubs and all that stuff, that is a whole nother conversation. You learn the competition thing and what your kids need, and then, like I said earlier, that's my horses and my kids remind me a lot of each other. So I had these awesome years of training horses that became awesome horses, and I came back with a bang in 2009. And that was after being told that being my age, having an injury, might not be what I thought. I had not read the newspaper in 4 years. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to go to the juvenile futurity. It's been 4 years. And I thought I'm going to better read about who's winning and where I need to go to a jackpot. I hadn't done that in 4 years. And just training and doing clinics. I started doing clinics during that time. So I had been teaching people, raising kids, training horses. And then I think, oh, okay, time to go back to competition. And I thought, and I kind of didn't think of it, how difficult that was going to be. And a friend of mine, very good friend of mine, said, this might not be easy. Things have changed out there. And I thought, really? But they had, because things evolve. Horses get faster, more horses come, new trainers come up that are younger, more athletic, more fearless. Anyway, went to my first few futurities back, and oh my gosh, I was loping. And it was interesting and funny. And a friend of mine said, "Where's the old Dena that was competitive?" And he's a friend of mine from back east, and I thought, where is she? But anyway, I thought, okay, you got to suck it up. You just got to suck it up. And anyway, to make a long story really short, I had a very blessed year, and the horses I had were super talented. It was not a walk in the park, I will tell you. And one of those horses was Kate, and she wasn't just not a walk in the park, she was difficult to train as a younger mare, and it was ugly. And anyway, that's a story for another day. But in any case, the end of that year, I ended up winning both go-arounds on these two awesome horses at Oklahoma City, and I felt happy and satisfied. And after that, I had lived through a change that changed my whole mental attitude. And so that, I look in retrospect, was the beginning of a new chapter in my life. So I survived the tragedy that could have been a tragedy, and it became a blessing, and in many, many ways. And so after that, then it was just like, okay, let's go forward. And after that, career-wise, I haven't actually looked back or been unhappy or anything other than just driven until this past year.
I was stalled next to this lady in San Angelo. Me and our horses were stalled beside each other, and she won the rodeo in San Angelo, and she got a berth into Houston based upon that win. Dena Kirkpatrick from Post, Texas.
It's a ranching family, little town of Post. She is a cowgirl 7 days a week. Texas! Yeah! Look at here, look at here, look at here.
Folks, that is the fastest barrel racing run.
Yeah, Mom has definitely always been a magnet for helping people, and I think that she has gotten to this awesome place in her life where her gift of gab is really getting to shine through. And because she's a great talker, and not to mention, if you've ever heard her talk, she has a wonderful, loud, projecting voice.
Doesn't even need a speaker system.
Nope, doesn't even need the speaker at the clinics. But I think that her being able to go around the country and the world teaching people to do what it is that she is best at, I think that that's really rewarding for her. But she is a really competitive person too, and so she still enjoys the competitive part of rodeoing and all that, even though she's not futurity as much as she used to. A big driver is that she loves horses and has always loved horses. She would tell us all the time that she would trade like house chores for barn chores all the time, but she has the passion for horses and also passion for people. Her whole career, I guess watching her, has kind of morphed into this, her love of horses and her love of competition, and then also being around people. She's always been very social, very talkative.
She could talk to a fence post.
The examples that she set for us is to always, number one, you will, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you suck at it or you're the best at it, but you better be the one trying the hardest.
You better work the
Yep,
hardest.
you better work the hardest.
On the court or
in all areas
in
of
the
life.
office.
Yep. With her discerning, she can like hit the nail right on the head
You might
right away.
You
And
might not want to hear
it's a little freaky. And I think that in a lot of people, what helps people so much is they might not have ever had anyone in their life be that for them.
When y'all are practicing your block shots in basketball, do you use the backboard? Does your coach always yell at you to use the backboard, to use the backboard, to use the backboard? That saddle horn is the same as that backboard. You need it desperately to make those turns good, okay? Last year of my life has undoubtedly been the most traumatic, trying part of my life because my parents, they had health issues, but in any case, they were very functional people, and I'm very blessed in having awesome parents. So our relationship was close. Talked to my mom every day. Dad dad is responsible for my career with my horses, mine and Terry's. And both my parents died within 6 months of each other. And this is a place in life where no college and no class, you don't prepare for this. And yet it's gonna happen. It's going to happen. It may have already happened. And there are people with worse off. The loss of a child or something like that's worse than losing your parents. And I don't ever want to experience that. But in any case, the words life and death become real. And, you tease about saying, okay, it's not life and death. We're going to a barrel race and we didn't do very well. That's not life and death. Well, the reality of life and death has hit me in the last 6 months, and I have had to take care of my dad. I had to cancel all my clinics. I had to give up a speaking event where I felt so honored to be invited. Had to cancel that. And my dad would have said, look, you go, you need to do this. But I knew that if I left him, that I could regret that later on in my life. And so I just want to say that one of the things in life that's important is that when you come to these places, that you make the decision that's going to make sure that you're not going to have to live with regret for the rest of your life. There were pens here, and then there was a pasture over there that we kept the horses in, and then the arena was here. And it was a pretty big arena because they tripped steers and roped calves and team roped in it, and we ran barrels in it. Not like at home now. I can't run barrels in my calf roping arena, but my calf ropers arena. But we did everything in there. Spent tons and tons of time. And the horses got turned out. And we would we always kept the pony. Dad always kept us ponies to ride. And so he would send us out, sometimes bareback on ponies, to go gather the horses and bring them up, and they could run up in here and up into a lot that I think the tack room opened into the lot, if I can remember. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, my sister Terry had a near fatal crash on the pony one time when Dad sent her out. But anyway, we had a lot of exciting memories. Change is a part of life, and you deal with it. How you deal with it will make or break you in your relationships, in your training with your horses, in your competition. I have learned through doing clinics that people bring their life problems to their barn. And I would tease people. I would say, you're taking your misery at work out on your horse. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, I am. And so, in a way, I would say, now don't do that. So, you don't want to take your misery and make your horse miserable. But on the other hand, looking at it from a different perspective, which life does change your perspectives. Now I'm looking at it like, okay, where is a better place? God gives us these animals. We can take our stuff to the barn and we can deal with it better and become more aware of ourselves, and the horses can help us through that. The great horses make us who we are. They put us on the map, and you're very blessed to have them. I've been very blessed to have them. But all those horses I trained in between that may not have got to the winner's circle, or that just weren't as good, those horses are the ones that I learned the most from. And so my advice is that as you're riding, an old timer once said to me, you learn something from every horse you straddle. And when I was very young and I asked someone, how can I become a great horse trainer? They said, ride as many horses as you can get your leg over. Think of it as, I get to ride this horse. We quote movies. And so this one thing I think of a lot, like when you get depressed or get sad or don't win or do win or whatever, you get through these struggling times, whether they're lifetimes or training or competing. There's a part in the movie, I think it's in The Natural, and he goes into the baseball deal. He's almost going to quit. And then he thinks about it, he wants to go do it. He goes back in there in the morning, he says to his teammates, you know what we get to do today? We get to play baseball. And I think about that, where we get to go ride our horses. We have been blessed with an awesome life, and we're going to make positive out of every experience that we get. So when you head out to the barn the next time, it doesn't matter what level you are in barrel racing or what horse you're going to go get to ride. The thing I want to say is, learn to love the process. The process is what makes you better. The gift at the end is a great horse. The gift may be just that you trained a horse that turned out to be not maybe in the newspaper, but was good for someone else. So love the process, learn from every horse you ride.
It's one right, two left, riding like hell, round that clover leaf pattern that you know so well. Sitting just right with the reins in her hands, underneath the bright lights, chasing them pins. She's one of those nobody knows out making some noise. Yeah, she's a dark horse. Yeah, she's a dark horse. She's a blue jean baby with her hat down low, chasing that wild